at ya, back at ya. Tell you what's master, coming at ya, coming at ya. Rhyme style disaster, coming at ya, back at ya. Tell you what's master.
All right, welcome to another episode of Cut the Bull. I am Will Reilly. I'm here today, as always, with my co-host, Charles Love, the Charles Love, along with Brooks Crenshaw, the lovely, Christy Kelly, the talented, and our guest tonight, Jen Brown, known to many online as Redhead Ranting, writer, blogger, satirist, so on down the line. And I always open with kind of a softball question. I was actually going to ask Jen or RHR how it felt not to have a soul, but I think instead I'm going to. Well, I don't think anyone has
That's
a
a
soul.
softball.
No, I mean
That
I'm
was
teasing.
that was
That's the
line
whole joke
drive
about
down the
redheads.
middle.
But yeah, that's the heat. But in fact, I'm going to open by asking. You have a new book. It's doing pretty well on Amazon. Ginger Snapped. What is the theme of the book? What are you writing about? What are you doing on the comedy front in the book?
I'm not doing anything on the comedy front. I mean,
It's dead serious.
what's that?
Oh, I'm teasing a little. I was like, it's dead serious.
Oh, okay. I have to remember it's you because half your tweets go way over my head. They hurt sometimes. What was the question?
The question's basically just what the book is about. It's also a good reminder that like my Renaissance asshole style is not always funny. Like there's an element of like dry humor to it. There's a
Acquired
large
taste.
genre of guys that are like, that's absolutely hilarious, and there are other people that are like, I don't know about it. But what is the book about?
The book is really, it could have been titled Get Off My Lawn. It was really the point of it, or not the point of it, but I have a bunch of other books that I am working on, and so I threw this one out to see how to do it. So the mechanics of it. So I've been a web designer, blogger, all that for the last 20 some years. But I never published a book before, never self-published. And so I needed to figure out how to do it before I put out the more serious ones that I have in the I don't know what the word is, coming up. So a lot of this was stuff that I'd written on Twitter or on my blog. And some of them I, reworked and expanded on a little bit. Can't, more than 140 characters would be a little bit. But if you look through it, it's a lot of them are really short. Some of them are longer. It's basically a bathroom reader where you can pick it up anywhere. But it's a lot of it's frustration, really. A lot of it is, and it's observational about what's going on in this world and how it's changed and the whole woke thing and all of that. So that's what it was about.
Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting in the book, we obviously looked through a PDF, and I also read some of your blogs about this. You talked a fair amount about bad dates, problems with contemporary dating, so on.
That's the next book.
Yeah, no, I looked at that coming up. I looked at the blog content you had about this. And I guess the question would be, what do you think that some of the issues are with modern dating? And I'll do a plug here. Myself and Iona Italia actually have a podcast talking about modern relationships. And on sort of the agony aunt front, I asked people, especially women, to message me about their issues with relationships, which is one of the more significant mistakes I've made online. I'm not necessarily the most sensitive person, but hundreds of people, and I committed to respond to everyone. I think 719 people messaged me and said, modern men don't know how to do the most basic things. And the guys were saying the same kind of things, like she's sending me these crazy pictures and I'm on my mom's phone plan. I don't know how to respond to this. And it's really one of the most awkward sets of conversations I've ever had. But enough about me. What do you think the issues are with the modern dating scene?
I think the apps are really bad for modern dating. They don't, it's like ordering off an a la carte menu instead of getting to know somebody. I have yet to have any sort of lasting relationship from the apps, and I've been married twice. So those were both people I met in, through other people or through work or what have you. Um, I think with the a la carte menu style of, I don't think the apps are actually set up to help you connect with somebody. I think they're like the dating app, or not the dating apps, but the diet apps where, it's a model to have you come back. So, I think the dating apps are a poor way to do it, but it's a lazy way that we all, you're sitting around watching TV and you're scrolling your phone looking for, it's like ordering off DoorDash. And there's no way that you're not going to be disappointed by what you end up getting. I got I'm still on the apps, but a guy, they sent an email and I looked at the picture and he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and he's got a ferret pressed up to his cheek. And I'm like, my first thought was, wow, that's bold. But then the other side of it was like, well, at least he's putting it out there, so you know what you're getting into. So ferret lovers and smokers, they're all ready for it. So I don't know. I don't think that's the way to do it, but I don't know the alternative, especially as you get older, because, the easiest time to meet somebody is in school, high school or college. And then I suppose in work or, in your job, but people work from home or they leave work so soon, they go from one job to another. I don't know that that's the best way to do it. So my recommendation is for younger people, um, find your person right away, make that your goal, rather than your career and everything else. But that's more of a societal, um, we need to do that for society reason, for just for our nation to build it back up with families and that sort of thing.
You mentioned something interesting about the sites, and that is the incentive structure, right? And so, like, that stands to reason that if I'm Match.com, I don't want you to use my app for 6 months and then go away forever. I want
Right.
to keep my numbers. So that's really insightful. I think there was one exception. I believe it was called Luminosity. It was designed by Neil Clark Warren, and he was a doctor by trade, but he was trying to get at another issue, and he was looking at the causal factors. His issue was divorce is cutting American wealth in half, right? So it's a wealth killer. So he was wanting America to be more wealthy, and he wanted to address that by an app that made more big five matches with regard to two people, and that they would be more compatible in the attempts to do that. I don't know if Luminosity worked or not. One exception on the Match.com. Has everybody seen the movie The Big Short? Towards the end, one of the main characters said, "I met my wife on Match.com, and I said, I'm a man with one eye and $150,000 in college debt." And she answered and said, "You're exactly what I'm looking for," which is honest, right? So, like, that's always a beautiful story when I hear that. So that's the exception to the Match.com.
I mean, I know a few people who have married, met on Match and married, and Match owns quite a few of the apps that are in use, which is why you see the same people on many of them.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed in the years that I've been doing it is that, when you leave, that's when you start getting messages from people that are much better than what you've been getting when you are paying for it. And then you go back, you think, oh, these guys look great. And you go, and then they're not there anymore. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe that they were sued for this sort of thing. There was a class action lawsuit against them. So I don't know. But yeah, I think it's very much like the diet apps where they really don't want you to leave. They don't want you to be successful because then they don't have a business model.
I just
Like
had
Christy's
two,
jumping in.
yeah, I had two quick things to say about the dating app sites. So myself and my best friend, we both, tried them, I would say in our 20s, maybe early 30s. She was horrible at them. And I just think I think it's a science to it. And I think I kind of had that science down. And I lived in LA at the time. So it's like when you're in your 20s or your, early 30s, you just have fun with it. And I met lifelong friends, people that I'm married now, but people that I'm still friends with to this day, I met on dating app sites. But, I'm probably the reason like bros were created because me and my friends in LA, I mean, we'd have lunch dates, dinner dates, coffee. I mean, just having fun with the sites and meeting people as friends and just kind of knowing how to weed out. But I would not, I'm not single, but I couldn't imagine now being older, being on a dating site. I think it would be like a lot different ball game than when you're 20.
Well, it also
I would
bluntly
assume
depends on
so.
what you're looking for, right? Like, I mean, if you're looking for like a $200 dinner as a woman or sex as a man, bluntly, like you can get that on a dating app. I think the question would be like, can you
Yeah.
really get a long-term relationship? And that can vary. I don't know. I've never met anyone that I've dated seriously on a dating app. But a very quick comment before I shut up for like 20 minutes because I did the intro here, but like what Brooks said, I think is really deep. Like a lot of you guys online probably follow Steve Salerno, like I do, like Italian guy. He wrote Sham. But I had a conversation with him because we're actually kind of casual buddies offline, and we were just talking. And he said, "You know who the customer for a good self-help book is, right, Riley?" And I said, I don't think I know." And he said it's someone who bought the last two books in the series.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're looking at someone who's buying like the all fish, upper class housewives diet, it's someone who previously bought like the all chicken upper class housewives diet. Like, it's not, the people aren't actually losing weight. Like, they drop 20 pounds, then the diet stops working, they get bored with it. So, you get the next one in the series. Like, it's not really hurting you. It might be a slight good, but nothing's really ever going to happen. And everything is like that. Like the customer base for Playboy magazine isn't men that have brilliant game that are actually getting women. It's honestly kind of losers that should probably put that down and go out and talk to girls. So dating apps, yeah, I mean the goal would be to keep you on there chasing leads. And it's probably, yeah, I'm sure they have real people in reserve for people that are getting disgusted and getting ready to go get a temporary job as a bartender. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
Mm.
Actually, that's really interesting. Charles Love, what do you think? Or do you have a totally
It's
different, deeper series of
it's
questions?
so interesting that I was chosen to go last. I met my wife online.
Oh, well, that's great. We set you up as the
Look at
closer, man.
that, right? Look,
Deeper
I
and
was just
But on a
spirited as a
dating
wise
app?
man.
but it doesn't make anything that you all said wrong. It's just that, and to what Christy said, I can't imagine what it would be like now because I'm sure, and I've heard things about, a lot of the apps are very different. But in general, what I would say is, again, to what Christy said about her and her friend having different experiences, I think it's like anything else. Will, you mentioned if you were looking for the hookup or if you're looking for a $200 dinner, it depends on what you're going into it for. There's a lot of pitfalls and a lot of down negatives to it. But the advantage for people who are actually looking for a long-term relationship is that you can filter out all the other stuff that you wouldn't necessarily be able to see on the front end. There's advantages to both. You meet somebody in a bar, right? You still see the physical first, just as you would with a picture. You strike up a conversation, so it's a lot more natural, but you still don't know all these other things that may be deal breakers for you. Whereas on the sites, you can say, now the problem is some people have too many, but if you are good at what you're doing, you say these are the things that are most important to me, and you can weed out all the people who don't fit that right off the bat, right? So there's some good things about it, because you can, save some time. It's interesting for the guys. You talk about the dinner, it got to a point that women were more like, because it was new at the time when we had married. So it's like, we're leery. All these guys are going to be weird, right? So then you weren't doing the 200. We've been married 16 years. So we weren't doing the $200 dinners back then. People are like, let's meet somewhere to get to know you first. So you have conversations first.
And we're
So if
very
you limit,
public.
right. So if you're eliminating the people who just flat out, don't fit your core criteria right off the bat, then you're having conversations for, let's say, a month. And then when you meet, you're like, I still don't really know this person. Let's meet at a coffee shop or something, that it's logical and that could work. The problem is many people don't use it that way, right? So if you're using it, if you're swiping right, the whole point is different. Or if you're doing it for hookups, or if you're lying about what you're doing, and all these other things. But some of those problems would be the same in the real world, right? So that's one of the things I thought was positive about it, like I said, I know the sites are probably a lot different now, is that if you're serious about looking for a long-term relationship, you'll be less likely to just eliminate someone on their looks right away, right? Which, unless a friend introduces you to someone, that's kind of what draws you to the person in the bar, right? You're picking out the person that you're attracted to, and then you hope everything else fine in line. But you're looking at this, and you're attacking it like you say, The Big Short, right? No, I would think even more Moneyball, right? You're attacking it like the stats
Right.
guy. I don't know anything
Stats.
about baseball, but I know stats, right? So you just nope, this is not right. So you get based on the numbers, the core 10. Then out of those 10, you say who looks the best, who has the best conversation, who we get along with. So I think it can be useful. It's like a tool. It depends on how you use it. I would not use it solely. I would do that and still try to meet people. But the other problem, Will, lastly, is the cultural problem. So I mentioned earlier that the apps, I'm sure, have gotten worse. We've gotten worse, right? Right? People are crazy. We had Jeremy Adams on. He's a high school teacher talking about how kids don't look at each other. They don't talk in class. They don't date. They don't go to the football games. They don't do all this. So this is helpful to them, right? Because they don't know how to talk to people. But it's also harmful because they don't know how to talk to people, right? So they'll be fine, flexing some fake persona on the internet, but then they can't meet people in the real world. So, I mean, I think
That's a big part of the
that's not really,
problem,
now
right?
the match thing is one thing, but if they're like fooling people and putting fake things to draw you back in, but the app can only do so much. If you have no depth and you have no conversation skills and you don't know how to pick up a girl, you still don't know how to pick up a girl.
But that's also, it's not just you have no depth, right, Charles? It's also you have no game. Like when you see these messages back and forth, it's like it's really weird to watch the things young men post online. Like they'll message a girl and say something like WID, and she'll respond, just hanging out at my place. What about you? Oh, nothing. And there's a follow-up line like, can I come by? Want to get a drink? Want to go to the park? Like anything. The first thing should probably be outside. And the guy does nothing. And a couple times I've seen the guy actually post like, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I don't know what to say now. And you just feel like punching yourself in the head. It's just so awkward and insecure. This poor little fellow. But like they haven't been trained. They're like panda bears. They don't know how to mate. So I think that the computer actually makes it worse. It's like closing your first sale. I hate to put it that way in terms of like women are human beings, but like for God's sake, you've got to get rejected once. Do you want to go to the dance with me? No, I'm sorry. I think you're ugly. Oh, no. But I mean, then you have to ask the next person. And she'll say yes. And you'll say, okay, I'll go to the teacher's office and buy the tickets. And then you go to the dance. And then you have to learn how to dance. It's a ritual. It's like the first time you get tackled and it hurts and you feel bad. And then the next time you might score. Anyway.
Yeah. I think that is a problem, but you do need a pool though, right?
Rituals of life. It's sad.
Yeah, but you do need a pool. The good thing about the app is it does give you a pool of people, right? Maybe you're new to town and whatever, So it does give you a pool of people. What you do with
people
it
to
is
text
on you.
WID to. I mean, there has to be a goal in life, right? Like, once you've done that to all of them, like, then what happens?
Well, the interesting thing about the online piece that's different from the real world is you only see the opposing pool, or you only see the other side. You never get to see your competition,
right?
So you don't have any means by which to adapt to your competition, right? So like you're speaking into the void, not knowing where you rate. Like,
but what it should do though, Brooks, is it should make you just be you and see how it falls, right? Because you can't. I don't know who I'm up against.
right.
So all I can do is be myself and see who likes it. The
I
blind.
think Brooks is right about this though. Like if you're in a college, you can see what other men are doing, and you can see that certain things work. Like this guy has muscles, and women seem to like that. This guy brings a poem to his girl, and women seem to like that. This guy, he wears a jacket. If you just have no idea what's working, and you're just, I think this is where you get into the weird, quirky stuff. I don't know. People.
So
need
you're
to
saying
see
you should
other
sign up
people.
with two personalities and
Right.
do one as a guy dating guys and act like you're a girl. No, I'm saying act like you're a girl, but and then you go so you can see all the guys and what they're putting on their sites. Like, oh, this is
I guess that
interesting.
could work. Yeah.
He's got money in the background.
Well, let's actually, I want to ask the ladies something here, and everyone feel free to chip in. But Jennifer, if you were going to, and let's not talk about like high school boys here. If you were going to give a piece of dating advice to men, because I mean, you've been out on the market again, I guess, recently. what would it be in terms of dating profiles, in terms of how to take someone out on a date? I get the feeling older men aren't doing amazingly these days. What were a
No,
couple pieces of advice you'd give?
they don't. It's the same thing as the younger ones. They have no game. They don't follow up. Like on Match, for instance, if you like somebody and they like you back, you connect, you're matched, then somebody needs to say something, right? So, and they
Imagine
don't.
that.
And but that's the funny thing, and it's like, so they like you like them back, and it's like you're lobbying the ball, and they don't lobby it back. They wait for you to say something, and it's like, I don't want to. You liked me first. I expect you, and now I've done it both ways. And I know you're laughing, but I'd like a guy who can, come up with something interesting to say. That to me would be attractive,
Mhm.
especially since he initiated it.
Right.
And they don't for the most part. Or they will, and it'll be, 2 or 3 pages of text about what they do or what they don't do or whatever. It's either balls to the walls or it's nothing. Or they come in hot, like, sexual suggestions right off the bat. And it's like, you don't even respond to that. So there's none of that. They don't have game. There's no nuance. There's no skill to it. And, I'm looking at men in their late 50s, 60s, and now they've been married for probably 30 years. And so they're new to dating again. I apologize. The zoomies going on here. So the recommendation would be to learn how to have a conversation with a woman. And the other thing would be, don't text for weeks on end. I think I talked about this on Twitter, where I'd been texting with this guy for months, and then we finally went out, and then he continued to text me, and like, do you want to go out again? And his response was, he didn't respond. And it's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not a pen pal. I've already wasted months on this. And he said, okay. And then the next day he comes back and he's like, so what you doing? Lilith, come here. So that would be, so there are my dogs going.
So, can I ask for a quick review?
Can you what?
Sorry. So basically, if I were in that situation where you liked, I would just say, "Hey, glad you liked my message. You seem like a cool person. What do you like to do?" And when you gave a couple comments, I would
And
ask,
I do
I would say
that.
something like, "Great. Would you like to go to, Serafini this Friday at 7 p.m.?" And I mean, that would be pretty much it. It seems like a pretty simple thing to do. I mean, is there any addition you would make to that?
I have done it. And then it gets, it gets to be like pulling teeth. And Lilith, come here.
No, no, but
Uh,
that's what I would say. I think that's what most guys would do, at least
Do.
traditionally.
Yeah.
You also have a profile, right? They can speak to the things you already said you liked in previous conversations. It can't
yes.
be that hard.
And they don't do that. That's the other thing. It's like, did you even read it? And, you know,
Or
and now I'm in Minnesota, and I'm also, tend to be more conservative. So I weed out a lot of the guys by stating very upfront, I voted for Trump, because so many of them were like, if you vote for Trump, don't, scroll on by. It's like, great, let's just move that out of the way. And they still, it's maybe it's the Minnesota thing, right? Maybe it's the hard liberal, or the being a conservative in a liberal state. They I found a lot of the guys will pretend to be more moderate or conservative because they don't want to date the liberal women. Um, or at least the older, liberal women. But then you go out, and it's disastrous. I went out with one guy, and we talked about, or it was right around the time of the Fall of Minneapolis came out, if you're familiar with that. about George Floyd and all of that. And I mentioned it to him and said, "Did you see this?" And he's like, "No, and I won't. It's horrible." And it's like, okay, well, you won't even see it, but you can tell me how horrible it is. So that's what I've come across. And you get to the point where it's like, is it even worth it?
I didn't even think about that. In addition to all the technical issues and the no personality and the cultural loss and all that stuff, then you got to deal with politics.
The
Oh my
politics is really bad. Yeah.
Or you can just take politics off the table.
God. But these people are rabid.
Not
How you
here.
gonna
Too
take it off the
manly for these
table?
guys out there.
How you gonna take it off the table? Because
Scaring
they
them.
think people like her are evil. She's a Nazi. How you
Yeah.
gonna take it off the table?
I mean, you can just have a no politics rule. Get to know the person and then
No, no, no. I
talk
mean, I
about
get what you're
politics
saying. You're
later.
saying don't bring it up as a topic, but you're just delaying the inevitable. So I don't
Right.
find out for 3 months. I think you're a cool guy. Then you think I'm a Nazi? I'd rather know I'm a Nazi the first day. Don't bring it up. You got to get the Nazi. A Nazi's got to be on the list. Yes or no? Little
It's gotta be
box
on the
that says
table.
Nazi or not.
Yeah.
Box shaped like a mustache. And you just check it, yes or no,
A
or something.
little bitty mustache.
But Christy, what's one piece of dating advice that I don't know if this would apply as much to you as a very happily married woman, but what's one piece of game advice you would give to men when you look around and see guys in your community or church or whatnot?
Um, I mean, the first thing I would say is humor always works, right? So be funny, be interesting, don't be corny, right? But as far as men on dating sites, I would say talk to her as soon as possible. So pick up the phone and have a conversation and see if she's interesting or if she laughs at your jokes or if she gets your jokes, or does she even understand them? I would also say Zoom. Like, why not? Like, hey, let's hop on a Zoom. So you could see, like, are all of her pictures, filtered? Does she, are they all from 20 years ago? Does she look the same? Do you guys vibe? Because I mean, I can see, man, Charles really gets on my nerves on screen. So, you know what I mean? Like you can you can vibe with somebody just over Zoom. So I would say, do the Zoom. And then for the first date, make it something like, you could do a museum, you could do a library. Like I used to love park dates, simple stuff like that, and have somebody on speed dial. So if you text somebody, 72, that means you got to have a call and be like, hey, my kid's sick or something, just have that backup in case things go left. But I
Now
would
you're
say,
encouraging people to lie, Christy.
but I
I
would
do
say
not condone
definitely.
that, people. I do not condone it. Just tell them
I
you're
absolutely
horribly
condone
boring.
it.
I have to go home. You don't have to lie.
Yeah, call her, FaceTime, Zoom right away so you don't waste your time.
That actually is a great piece of advice. I mean, that's one of the things Iona said when we were doing our pod, that this was a description of men actually, but that most people that she'd gone out with had profile pictures from about 15 years ago. So she was expecting these handsome, like Australian rodeo cowboys. And the term she used was great blokes, but it was like these 50-year-old men showing up, same hat, but some substantial physical changes. So yeah, I gotta be ready for that. I hadn't expected the women to have so many issues along those lines. But okay, Brooks Crenshaw, we're about to move on to Charlie Kirk, some other topics. But do you have any final thoughts on the dating game today?
Well, so all this commentary on how men aren't like playing the game well at this point, like this makes me curious about whether this is an online phenomenon, whether this is the what is it, the advent of needing multiple contracts on the way to the bedroom, and permission, right? Like what, and some of this I think is probably the notion that men are really geared towards being what women want. And we've seen the data in many countries. We've had this phenomenon go on. North Korea or South Korea has definitely had this, where the young women have moved left and the men went toward them and then shifted hard right. And that's what's happening in the 20s and teens here. And the men are starting to move right. Young men are starting to move right. And I'm not sure that that's not a matter of biology. There's a reason nightclubs have ladies' night, right? I mean, where the women go, that's where the men are gonna go. And if the women are all at the Democrat rally, guess where the men are going to be? And that works up to a point that the men start to realize that, wait a second, there's not enough tough men around here to repel any foreign threat. And I think we're at that place in America where men are like, wait a second, all these military age males are here and we're a bunch of soy bitches. Maybe it's time to, buy a Bible and go to the gym.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that like the last two waves of feminism had a really big negative impact on dating. Like, I mean, I've been a college executive and I've read like some of these university consent codes and so on. And I mean, if anyone actually rule by rule followed them, like, now may I unsnap the third button of your shirt, ma'am? I mean, I think they would be physically thrown out of the bedroom by their girl. Like, yeah, I mean, Charles is like just, it would be just,
I'm
I mean, like
swooning. I'm
Amazon River,
swooning.
like
Right.
women would love it. Amazing. Like,
Right.
the fuck out of here. I mean, like, I think so that stuff, the idea that if you broke up with your partner, there could be lawsuits or even criminal charges around this type of shit. Like, men are very aware of that, and that has had an impact. I've had multiple young men I've mentored bring that up, at least on the first,
Wow.
second, third date. Like, what do you do about this? So I think that a lot of this stuff was literally written by lesbian radical feminists that don't much like men, and that's had a big impact. And I think guys are now saying, like, I'm just going to take that very slight risk. It's impossible to have a relationship in that context. So, I mean, we're going to see some big pushback there. Hopefully it doesn't end up in just straight woman hating, though. I mean, for my next book, I listened to some of the like Andrew Tate, Marvin Gaines, all that. I'm not sure all those guys are entirely straight. I mean, there's a lot of just Alexander the Great, like, we don't need him. That's an inferior model type stuff. So hopefully we can return to a normal yin yang view of sexuality there. But okay, I mean, like I said, I read through the website, which was interesting and engaging. Read through a couple of the articles, Jen, that you've written. One of the things that was kind of interesting, I mean, you made an argument that a fair number of people have made, which is that we need to tone down the insane political speech in the country, stop calling conservatives Nazis, maybe even stop making that point to some extent on the right. Obviously, as the guest, I'm going to ask you that question, but I'm actually going to ask Charles Love. You've talked about this as well. What do you think about the tone of rhetoric in America? Big Chuck, what's going on? Is civil war a risk? And then obviously, Jen, what's your take on this? But Charles, what do you think?
The Civil War nonsense. No.
I was
Yeah, if you
watching some of
caught
the
it on
Timcast
Twitter,
stuff
it would
today,
be
and they were talking about how civil war is coming in like a week.
right. If we're counting Twitter, then it's imminent, right? It's days away. But in reality, I tell you, I still talk to my friends and mention stuff people debate on Twitter. I'm like, what's that? I don't know what you're talking about. They have no idea what people are talking about. But it's a typical anything that's too much of anything bad can't be good. So the rhetoric is bad. I think the biggest problem with the rhetoric is we still haven't got to the point where people understand that they're not the same. I mean, the right keeps saying it, but no one else is understanding it. People just poo-poo it. But there is a difference between saying that someone's policies are bad and saying that it'd be okay for someone to die. Like, did you all see and compared to the extreme left, he would have been like he was one of the sane Democrats. But did you see Carville's comments today? Was that today or yesterday? About you haven't seen this, you'll love this. So go look at it. So Carville was talking, I don't know where it was talking because I just heard the clip, so I don't know who he was talking to. And he was talking about Trump. Trump is clearly 100% a criminal, and we need to do something about these co-conspirators, so the people who like support him. And but more like not just somebody who voted for him, but like people who worked for him, did any work for him in the administration. He said we should shave their heads, put them in orange jumpsuits, walk them down Pennsylvania Avenue, and spit on them.
Wow.
Wow.
James Carville said this, and he said that those succession of things 3 times to make it clear. So help me out. The last time I checked, so they say they don't condone violence. Kudos to him. We can give him a small award for not calling anyone a Nazi and not threatening to stab or shoot someone. But is spitting on someone violent? Wouldn't most of us consider that a violent act? I mean, where I come from,
it's good luck in Greece. So
right? Yeah, I mean that'll get you far more than spat on in return, right? The response would be not be equal in force.
Yeah.
So, you just don't hear, you can't say never, of course, but you just don't hear those kinds of responses from the other side, right? They just say, you're bad, you're evil, your policies are bad, you're going to destroy the country, you hate America, all that stuff, which is definitely not true for all the people they're lumping in. So they are generalizing, but they're not saying we should do all these bad things to you. I think that's the problem with the rhetoric.
Definitely agree. Jennifer, what do you think about this? I mean, in your writing and in your reaction to something like what Charles just said, what do you think about the tone in America?
You know, we used to be able to have these discussions and disagree, well, I don't know, 20 years ago, and remain friends. And in the last, I don't know, 15 years, I've lost a ton of friends because, of either being a TERF or, voting for Trump or, just being who I am. And, I remember a woman friend of mine, I knew her on Facebook, and she was talking about punching TERFs, and I had no idea what a TERF was, and punching them in the throat. That was her call to action. And I'm like, this was during COVID. And I asked her what the TERF was, and she explained, and I'm like, well, I mean, that sounds like me, right? I don't want guys in women's spaces. That doesn't.
Oh, did she punch you in the neck?
Well, no, but,
okay,
but she unfriended me and blocked me, right?
Yeah.
So
you never know. Mm-hmm.
Well, but that's the rhetoric that is pushed out there, is to go ahead and do it, that's okay. And it's not okay. I mean, even just calling upon it, I think, is dangerous. Like, I would never consider somebody who, who voted for Kamala Harris or whoever else, Tim Walz, right? Mm-hmm. I can still be friends with them. I don't necessarily agree with their politics or the policies that they put forward, but I would never consider punching them in the throat for it. It's like, that seems a little extreme to me, but a little bit, yeah. So I don't know why that became an okay kind of thing. But it seems to be, and it seems to be like you can get away with saying that, or people seem to be able to I mean, look at Tim Walz, the things that he says. Like, we see that stuff all the time, let's get more mean to, or let's get a little bit more aggressive or whatever. And you don't it's not coming from the others. Now, maybe it is. I don't, obviously, there are obviously extremes on both sides, but I'm not hearing it, at least in my circles, which tend to be, right-leaning, moderate. So I don't think it's a good thing, just from our own friendship standpoints. Or I was having lunch with my aunt the other day, and her, we've got family members who won't talk to any of us, and she's pretty liberal, but she's apparently not liberal enough. So you can't win. There is something that is making people completely unable to tolerate a difference of opinion. And that's the sad part, is like, that's how we learn things, is from other people's differing opinions. So.
Yeah. I actually think there are two interesting questions there. Like, the first one is this kind of thing more common on the political left? And I mean, I don't want to make my usual, I'm a kind of amoral business person statement, but I think a lot of people on the right actually would be pretty comfortable with seeing Antifa protest, the people that block streets, being stripped to the waist and walk down the street while someone hits them with a whip. I wouldn't really care at all, honestly. If the Proud Boys or something want to fight with them and did that for 2 blocks, no one's dead, but this is their punishment for defeat. I think 55% of males on the right wouldn't care. So, I mean, I actually don't know if there's a substantial, what you'd say, a stat sig difference on that. But if we assume there is, I think there actually is a reason for it, which is that leftists think the world can be made perfect. and that right wingers are the people that are blocking the world from being made perfect. So we're evil. Like if we divided up all the money in society, and this is actually true, in the USA it would be like $63,000 a year or something. We could make everyone kind of happy, comfortable, and middle class. And we're blocking that, so we're evil. Right wingers know you can't make the world perfect. Like if you gave a crack kid 60K a year, they're just going to spend that on crack and their kid's going to starve to death. They'll probably sell the kid for another 5,000. So we think leftists are dumb. They're stupid. Like they're just going to take our money and ruin their life worse. So the right winger thinks the leftist is a fool, but the leftist thinks the right winger is a killer, a monster, a genocide. And I think that's the reason for the difference. But like I don't think the difference is as big as people think it is. Like I'd probably separate out like women under 18 or something like that. But like the whip thing, like you lost.
Yeah, but Will, just really quick, I agree with you. I don't think the difference in percentages of the number of people on either side who would be okay with it or turn a blind eye. What I'm saying the difference is the volume and who's doing it, right? So I think that's what the difference is, right? So the average person on average, maybe it's a little more, a little less on either side, but you don't have the same, like the AOCs and the Tim Walzes of the world don't talk like their Republican counterparts.
No, that's a very good point. And I think that's that I want to hear Brooks on this. I think that's because the left won what he would call the long march through the institutions. By the way, the reason I would separate out kids and priests and all that is so they wouldn't get hit with whips, just so that's clear. That's like they would be the people that don't get beaten. But in the 1960s in the USA, we saw a major cultural change where the enemies won. And I mean, like, I still got some love for Martin Luther King and all that, but this is important for people on the right to understand. Like, the radical end of the feminist movement, like the pro-drug movement, the eco-freakos that banned nuke, all that, they won. So, like, a massive cultural revolution happened. We got basically a second constitution. And so when you look at, like, the most radical leftist you can imagine, like a Somali colonel's daughter rocking a hijab, like, that person's in Congress. When you look at the most radical right-wing nut you can imagine, like a Groyper smoking a cigar, talking trash about Jews, like they're on Twitter. So there's a difference. Like maybe in 20 years, our idiot will be in Congress with their idiot. But right now, no, there is no comparison. And by the way, I dislike our idiot just as much. Like that has to be said. Like there are two business women on the panel. Like we're not taking the vote away. Like I actually really have no patience with that kind of thing at all. But there is a difference between like Ilhan Omar and like Hitler love 1488 on Gab. But actually, quick pass behind the back to Brooks. Would you agree with that? This is the result of the 60s social changes, the things we've been talking about.
It's definitely part of it in an incremental aspect. One of the things that you said about that I totally agree with is that they're fools. They think that 63,000 split evenly would work, and most conservatives understand that getting money doesn't mean that you're worthy to keep it, right? There's the lottery curse is a well-known phenomenon, right? Like you win $315 million and then you follow them in 10 years. They didn't know what to do with, like, they didn't know how to be rich. And there's something to that, right? You have to develop yourself and understand how money works.
And $63,000 is rich.
Well, I mean, by global standards,
no, I think it's
top
rich
1%.
I mean, I would like to make 63.
It is top. That is the top 1% global. The other thing I think is that there's been kind of an intergenerational political, and the left moved there first. I don't know if the right will go there all the way, probably in the interest of saving the patient, whereas the left wants the patient to die, right? And seeing the American system collapse is a useful objective. But I remember in 2008, when during a McCain rally, a woman got up and said, "We've got to stop Obama. He's a bad man. He's a Muslim, blah, 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 blah." And he grabbed the mic and he's like, no, he's a fine man. He's a good, fine man. And that's kind of how McCain's generation played politics. And in 2008, Obama came in and said, okay, never let a crisis go to waste. We punish our political enemies every chance we get. We never let up. We always go low. We kick them in the face. And that's been politics ever since. And the right hasn't really adjusted. And then Trump showed up, right? And like Trump is the pent up aggression in a very candid and somewhat, what would you say, mocking fashion. Like he is a total troll meme, a walking hot mic, right? And so this is where we are, and I believe it's largely the result of 2 terms of Obama, but also an electorate that will vote for, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump, right? Like we have the electorate we have; they get the representation they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
real quick, I also think the left just doesn't know how to be out of power. Like they can't handle losing power. And so now they're just kind of losing their minds. It's like if you put January 6th to the side,
Mhm.
when Biden was in power, I mean, we made fun of him, we complained, but you didn't see the craziness that you see on the left right now. And it's like the more the left loses their power. Now they're losing the media and the power of the media to some extent. I think now you're really seeing them flare up. It was a state senator, or a state representative. She got on TV and she's like, "Yeah, if they is a black woman," and she's like, "I'm from the hood, and if they hit you in the face, you got to take out their neck." And she did this, and I'm like, "Are you serious? Like right after Charlie Kirk, you're going to talk about going for people's neck and doing this?" But I think we're going to see just in the next couple of years, they're just slowly losing their mind. And the shutdown, they don't know what to do except complain. So now it's like, they're complaining about the ballroom and we're
The White House
destroying
is destroyed.
we're destroying history.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
We love history. Mhm.
they went through tearing down how many monuments, how many statues, how many, but the East Wing is a step too far. So I think
Right.
they just don't know how to be out of power.
Yeah. I think that's actually a very important point. Like progressives really think that they are the wave of the future, so that them not being in power means like it's again the evil versus stupid thing. Like they think that we are the retrogression to the evil past. And that's the whole thing with like feminism, modern civil rights, so on. Like everything before 1954 was just there be dragons. And we can never go back to it. It wasn't like people were a little too racist and there were two business districts. It was like everyone before that time was miserable, abused, oppressed, so on down the line, not just in the South, etc. Some truth to that, maybe not as much as is always said. Okay, Jennifer, we've talked about a range of things during the conversation, actually. Is there anything you'd like to focus on as kind of the final question? If not, I'll ask one from the list I have.
No, you go ahead. This has been fascinating to me.
Do we get to talk about her book?
Yeah, that's actually the question yeah.
Ah.
So it was that or a question about redheads. I've got a couple redhead questions here.
Okay, go for it.
All right. I'll actually ask the redhead question first, just because it's silly, but I don't think it'll take up much
Okay, but
time.
not the drapes question, right?
No.
Okay, good.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Oh, God, don't get Christy on drapes.
I get that all the
Don't
time.
get Christy
Yeah.
started
Really.
on drapes. Oh, no.
It seems like something that someone you're dating would either figure out for themselves or shouldn't ask. Really, that wasn't on the list. But so no, actually, your online profile title is Redhead Ranting. I mean, your book title is Ginger Snapped. Is that something you actually identify with, or that's kind of shaped how you see dating and so on? Like, are you a member of the redhead community? How does that affect you? Are redheads getting replaced in media by like sassy black characters instead? Like,
Oh,
what's going on? What's going on with the redhead
I've
community?
seen that with the where they're being replaced. I have no idea. I don't know that there is a redhead community online. Though I have, found some. Um, as a redhead, and as I'm looking, I'm like, I'm so flushed. This is part of the problem of being a redhead.
Represent
Especially
for your people.
the Scandahoovian part of us. It's, you get picked on as a kid and relentlessly as a kid. And so you develop a bit of a thick skin and you've heard it all. You've heard all the teasing and carrot top and all of that. And I don't know forgot my brother is a redhead. And he also has developed his own different set of coping mechanisms. But I think with women, especially when you get older, you're kind of revered and you're there was somebody posted something today on, and they hit me up on the timeline about I don't know if you saw that, where a woman said, "Oh, my son is going to ask this redheaded girl out to homecoming, and can you say a prayer for her, or for him?" And so there's that kind of mythology about the redhead woman, that we're dangerous and we're a lot of fun, and but at the same time a little scary. And yeah, you kind of lean into it, there's because it's fun, right? Because why not? I don't know if it's true. I mean, I suppose it is a little bit. I have a bit of a temper when pushed. I don't know if that's a redhead thing though.
I can actually go into like a boring ramble here. Like redheads were the original like indigenous or whatever people
They
in
were the
far northern Europe.
Neanderthals.
Partly, yeah, like
Yeah.
15%. But the other people that came off the Yamnaya plains and fought them and so on. So yeah, there's redhead indigeneity. Be proud of your people. There's like a redhead festival somewhere up there in northern Europe. But yeah, there someone actually the one of someone some internet kid with way too much time on their hands did make a meme where there were, I think it was
Yep.
192 characters that were like redheads or ruddy blondes, that were like that was like the hood ethnic character for a while in America, like the scrappy Irish kid from the slums. And it was like April O'Neil or whatever. They were in different movies and they were replaced by like the scrappy black or Puerto Rican kid from the slums. And it just went on and on and on and on. And in like, 50 years, they'll all be replaced by like the scrappy Mexican kid from the slums. So there's a lot of turnover in society. But all right, Charles obviously suggested that another one of the last couple questions be, obviously you did write a book that just came out, Ginger Snapped. We mentioned it as promo when we began the show, but in 5 minutes or so, how would you describe that book? What are some of your favorite anecdotes in there?
I
Yeah,
when I
that's
first
basically
put
it.
it out in here, I'll even, here it is. So, um, when I put it out, I tweeted, because Andrew Doyle also has a book out right now, and he's got ton of work. What is it, anti woke, or I can't remember off the top of my head, the end of woke, and ton of research in it and all of that. And basically, my book is the same thing, except I did no research. So it's just observational, and it's just sort of, there's no filler, but it's this is what one of my favorite parts in there is the contagion aspect. And it's like I think the first chapter, maybe
Right,
the second
about the
chapter.
girls. Yeah. Mhm.
And the girls, and how we in, grade school, high school, everything is we have to be like them. And we in fifth, sixth grade, we had Bonnie Bell lip smackers that we all had on a string, and they were the size of a dildo. They were massive, but everybody had to have one. And if you didn't have one, you were not cool. You could sit at the table, but you still weren't, you really had to. Now I went to a private school that was probably even worse there than maybe at a public school, but that's what we do. We especially women, girls, we have to be like one another. And now I think a lot of what we're seeing is, especially with the internet, where that kind of put it on steroids. Like if we didn't have the internet, I don't think we'd have a lot of these issues that we're dealing with that
Right.
are more contagion,
People oversharing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the toaster problem. Let's not forget that.
The toaster problem.
So there's
Poster fucker problem was
the
a longer
point
title.
is the point is that the people that would normally one at a time get run out of town have all found each other online, and so
Oh.
they've coalesced
Mhm.
into a community, which
Right.
is a
Um,
problem.
Jennifer, I want to say something about the book. Earlier, you talked about it could have been called Get Off My Lawn.
Yes.
And uh, like you said, it's like Andrew's book. It's like an anti-woke book without the research because you're talking about yourself. So you talk about basically, as a compadre here, you talk about growing up like Gen X and what we did growing
Yeah.
up. And I see why, reading the book, I see why you call it Redhead Ranting. So you have these things you're talking about, and a couple of them stood out. So you talk about stuff like gluten-free
Oh
shampoo,
no.
but
Okay.
someone wants to go, oh, the cup holders, and they're like, why does everybody have to be hydrated all the time? And how we moved around. But two that stuck out to me, and one that made me have a sub rant was all the girls today with their belly out, right? So I just noticed all of a sudden, like you say, the trends happen all the time. But I just noticed walking around New York that all of a sudden, it used to be all the preteens and the teens girls had the little short shirts with their belly out. But then it was like, 30-year-olds. Then it was like older women. Then they were overweight. Then it didn't matter. It's just like nobody, which led me to the other thing, which you didn't say it in my terms, but you kind of alluded to the fact that we need to bring shame back. Like people would just do anything. It was fine when people were posting stuff before, but like you say on a blog or talking to their girlfriends. Now they just posting everything, taking videos. Like I think you said something about the idea of sitting in a car and shooting and recording a video of yourself crying about, your life or whatever. So, I don't understand why everybody has the belly out. You can talk about that one, but here's my other one. You suggested people be chivalrous and do all these things, including hold the door, which I agree with. But my pet peeve with holding the door, that you all are going to laugh at me. At least one of you, I'm hoping, will agree with this. I don't mind holding the door for anybody, male, female, somebody with boxes. You know what I don't like? The person who disrespects. It sounds like a Jerry Seinfeld skit. I don't like the disrespectful person when you hold the door, and that's the person you hold the door open for them. If I'm holding the door for me, don't touch. I don't want the touch. You're touching, implying that I'm not really going to hold the door. In fact, I might slam it on you. Right? No, I'm holding the door, but you just proudly walk through the door and thank me. No, yeah. I don't want, like you talk about them just fake holding the door. But what about when you truly put yourself out there and hold the door and then they just, slap you in the face and just say, no, I'm gonna hold the door and push you out the way like they don't think you're really holding the door. But yeah, there's all these little things matter though. It's my point.
Well, for door holding, there's a certain distance that is appropriate, I think. And I've had this discussion with people holding the door or me holding the door where they're too far away and they're like,
oh,
no.
you mean like when they just do the tap?
Run.
They do the tap and you're supposed to run?
This is the problem.
There's, it's like you're going to hold it for a few seconds and they're suddenly under pressure to either speed up or right. It's an awkward thing. And I've actually discuss the awkwardness of it as I'm either going towards the door faster or just holding it for them. It's like, no, it's okay.
Take your time, Jennifer.
Right,
I got this. I'm holding it.
That's me.
I'm committed. Take your time.
I am here. I don't mind holding it. And everybody laughs. It's great.
But yeah, there's got to be full door holding etiquette.
Yeah.
7 yards. 7 yards is my limit.
7 yards.
I just, without being an asshole, don't hold
like
the door if someone's outside of comfortable range. I'll give a little wave. They know what's up.
Right. But, it's just the same thing. They do the thing with the elevator. They do it. It's all these little things. When they get on the train, the people who step in front of you when you wait for the train or bus.
It literally sounds like the Seinfeld writer's room. Like
but it's like they look for it. But like, what do you look like? You're waiting on the bus. But Will, if you're waiting on the bus, all of you, show of hands, who has seen a bus? If you haven't, they're large. But people stand in the street and they go looking for the bus like it's going to sneak up on them. It's a bus. It's going to come right to the stop. You don't have to stand in the street. Oh, now I'm really Jerry.
Now you're Jerry.
It makes it come faster.
This dude's like the archetypal New York guy.
No, but those about these things. And they always find their way back to, life is hard. Stop being a whiner. Suck it up. And, like you said, don't be woke, basically. But you find a way to do it without saying don't be woke. So I enjoyed it.
Good book. One thing about what Charles said, though, like, I think, Charles, you and Jennifer actually said something that's pretty important, which is, like, obviously everyone notices, like, the little bullshit that goes on in life. Like, your neighbor's holding the door for you. And they're your buddy, but it's getting annoying, and you could just catch the door. Are they really going to whack you in the face with the door? It smells kind of funky in this elevator with all these people in it. The food's bad. You can cook better than your wife, but she wants to. I mean, and it's perfectly fine to complain about it and confess to your priest, whatever. But I think the problem comes when you take this stuff and you make it an issue and you say it's actually a problem, and you give it like a therapeutic name. And you say that you're dealing with restless mind syndrome. And so you need more time on your school examinations and you might divorce your wife. And we've been going through 30 years of this.
Yep.
I'm never going to call out.
You blame other people. You blame other people.
Yeah.
It's an ism.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. But you start saying like bullshit thing X is like a trait of like blacks or whites or something, and like you need to, it's troubling you to deal with your neighbors because of thing X. Like girls in clubs sometimes touch your hair. Like this is what we've really been dealing with for like 30 years, and it's becoming a serious problem. And just we can just stop doing it. I got into an argument online. I'm gonna shut up after this, but like about sexualization. And like obviously you shouldn't look oddly at like kids or trees or teddy bears or something. But what was
Look
being
at the
discussed.
trees.
No, but I mean, like, I'm sure you could sexualize something. I'm sure there are weird dudes out there, problems in the marriage. You find yourself looking oddly at vegetables. But like what was being talked about was like a WNBA basketball player that was modeling lingerie. And people were saying like
Angel
you're
Reese.
sexualizing this. I don't know her name, but probably. But like you're sexualizing this lingerie model, and it was like, don't be an asshole about it, guys. But like you probably should be sexualizing lingerie models. Doesn't mean anything. Like you're supposed to think lingerie models are pretty women. Like we're just putting names on stuff that people who aren't psychologists took out of psychology books. It doesn't mean anything. The proper reaction is what Jennifer is doing. Comedy. It's not, there's no higher level of analysis you need to do there. You think the underwear model's pretty. You don't have to tell your wife that, but there's no, your mental place is comfortable. You're good. You're in the right place. Go watch Seinfeld.
Oh, I'm still stuck on the, I don't know them hoes.
I
What's up?
actually hope
said
that the
know her
whole
name.
NBA, I actually hope that the whole WNBA gets more feminine. Like I think they'll sell more tickets.
They
I
hope
think
it gets.
they'll,
They hope they get more feminine because they like dates.
but there's this
Ew.
wave. Sophie, Angel. I mean, there's hope that this new wave of girls will. They don't all have to be lesbians. Come on now. Some of them can actually like men and be feminine, and
This,
I just
but
pray more of that.
this, by the way, is actually the cause of a lot of the tension in the WNBA. Like, if you have friends that are in like sports media, it's not like the who's the new Caucasian shooter? What's her name?
The
Oh,
girl
I
from
know.
Purdue. I mean, from
Caitlin
yeah,
Clark.
what was she?
Buckets,
Iowa. The girl from Iowa.
Paige Buckets.
No, he's
No,
talking about the girl from Iowa.
it's the other
Caitlin
one. So
Clark.
they still have a ways to go,
Caitlin
by the way,
Clark.
because we all watch
Caitlin.
sports. Okay, so yeah. But anyway, so I think a lot of the tension from what I've heard
Caucasian shooter.
is that yeah, like I'm not a WNBA fan. Like I hope sometimes. Anyway, so the issue is that a lot of them are very attractive heterosexual women with marketing deals, and there's a lot of tension around that in the league. I mean, like, at least from what I've heard from people in the media, it's not like one of them's white. I mean, Angel Reese isn't white and is getting a lot of the same kind of treatment. Like a lot of the WNBA, like 20% of the WNBA is gay. So, like, yeah, like it would not hurt them to change their marketing footprint. Charles was like, a lot more than that.
I don't think it's 20. I think it's a lot more than that.
Not more than that.
20. I was giving a low baseline figure, guys. I would not be surprised to hear it's more than that.
Are we counting
We're
the
all on the
dudes?
same page here. I mean, like, the whole thing is like they're not getting beaten up because they're white or light skinned or whatever. It's like, yes, people are very aware these are straight women that are going to marry millionaires that are very attractive. They're going to have a hard time in the league for a little bit, but as the league starts to transition, as they get in more Big Ten, Pac-10 players that are conventionally attractive women, I wouldn't be surprised to see revenues grow. I was very deadpan at the end of that, huh?
Yes.
Good.
We are all over the map on this one. I
I'm
can't wait
over
to
the
see the comments.
WNBA. Like I know nothing about it. I'm indifferent.
Oh my God. I know it's wrong, but sometimes you just can't. Will's
So, like,
Will,
the
because
worst
Will's
thing
doing his
that-
whole thing and he's telling a story. It's like, I said, you talking about it? I don't know her name. I don't know those hoes.
No, I mean, like, I actually wish the WNBA well. Like, one of the things I don't like, she's a white shooter. I actually don't like it when people hate irrationally. Like the WNBA team that she's on. Let's look up Iowa shooter.
No.
Brooks is refusing.
Let me
Well,
Google
I mean,
the
I
only
know what you're
WNBA
going to
player
get.
I don't know. He's like,
Yeah,
let me
Caitlin
Google-
Clark.
Well, look, he's
See,
like, let
Caitlin
me
Clark.
Google the only WNBA player people who don't watch the WNBA knows. He's like, let me Google.
Hey, Caitlin Clark. So my bad. No offense
Caucasian
to-
shooter.
no
He's
offense to
right,
Caitlin
because she's
Clark.
a great shooter and she's Caucasian. She's a Caucasian shooter.
Yeah, she's a white shooter. I mean, like that's
That
not
should
at
be her
all-
name. And next, coming up, the Caucasian shooter, Caitlin Clark.
I mean, so basically, And by the way, I was like awkwardly, I was going to halfway raise my arm for a basketball shooting motion. I decided I was really just taking that too far. We're going to not do any more stuff like that. But like, so anyway, the WNBA, wish them all the best, but they are going to have to decide what to do with their newfound fame. Hopefully they don't ruin it. So
And
now
probably hit some. My tip for them would be to hit some layups,
good.
layup drills. That's it. If you
Yeah.
watch 10 minutes of it and they all miss the layups, you're never going to watch again, no matter how good Caitlin can shoot.
Well, that's actually Angel Reese's problem. I mean, she's one of the best rebounders I've
That's the
seen.
most offensive rebound because she rebounded her own misses.
She's better rebounder than some guys in men's college ball, but she's not the best shooter I've ever seen. I've seen her rebound her own misses 5-6 times with other big players around
Yeah, they
her.
called it. What do they call it? They call it. There's a name for it. A me-bound, because she was rebounding her own.
It reminds me of Dennis Rodman, but they didn't let Dennis Rodman shoot the ball. I mean, the whole thing was that he was supposed to get it and pass it out to somebody else. But okay, so
keep tipping it to himself.
we've been on the WNBA for about 5 minutes, and that's more than anyone should ever discuss the WNBA. So, like, let's wrap this up with. We normally close with sort of words of wisdom. I'm gonna open, and we're gonna, as always, kind of go clockwise around the panel. I don't really have much to say. I enjoyed talking to Jennifer. I think that my primary contribution was probably the one that I just made today, which was there are a lot of things that go on in life, and it's important to understand them and talk about them in an entertaining, satirical fashion and so on. But just recognize that you're not actually some deep, fascinating person because these things happen to you. You don't have some mental, psychological condition 90% of the time. If you do find yourself doing the same kind of things that your girlfriends do, as you did when punk was in fashion and goth was in fashion and so on, you're probably not actually a boy because you can't be a boy if you're a girl. I would also recommend you go buy the book Ginger Snaps, which I'm going to promote on my socials today and tomorrow. It's a good, entertaining book. We all read the PDF on the panel. Thanks to Jennifer Brown, aka Redhead Ranting, for coming on. With that, I'm going to pass the ball to Brooks Crenshaw. Brooks, what do you think?
Yeah, so enjoyed having you, Jennifer. The conversation on the online dating made me very grateful that I'm out of the game. I think the online and social aspect of men and women is going to be a big problem. I hope it's something that we can address, but I think right now that is a major contributor. Yeah, that was one of my key takeaways from the episode, and I will pass the ball.
Christy Kelly.
Yeah, I guess one thing we didn't talk about with the online dating is that men do have the upper hand because of the ratio, right? So there's a lot more single women than there are available men. So I think that that's one good thing to think about it. I mean, men that are out here, they are juggling. So if they ghost you and you don't hear from them, they don't text you, it's because they have options, right? And depending on what race you're dating or if you're stuck in one race or the other, it gets even worse. I'm looking at you, Black women. So I would definitely say that is something with the online dating that the men should think about. Y'all have the upper hand if you're just interesting and don't be jerks. That's all I got. Charles.
Oh, I'm sorry. That leaves me. I would say check out the book. Go watch some Seinfeld because Jerry. I thought of Jerry when I was telling reading the book and hearing your little quips. And I don't know. I guess the takeaway is just to don't take life so seriously and don't blame everyone else. And then I have one last question for Jennifer after reading the book. Will you rate this podcast? What do you think of the podcast? We're going to send you a short survey afterwards, and we'd ask you to, it really helps us. So we'd ask for a 5-star review if you could, but give us a rating if you can.
Well done. Very
Like
good.
asking for a tip at the Subway.
Make sure you text me that after this.
Right. Over and over again. Mm-hmm. That's it for me.
And Jennifer, what are your final thoughts?
Gosh, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me on here. I haven't laughed this hard in a long time, so this was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
Caucasian.
And I apologize for my dog, even though you say you didn't hear.
Hear it at all. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. That is Jennifer Brown, aka Redhead Ranting. And we, for all the hosts, were Cut the Bull.
I got a country to say. Patriot J, I'm saving the day. Patriot J, I'm saving the day from you commies who lame. No, you can't fuck with me. I got a country to say. God bless the US of A. Land of the free and a home of the brave. God get all of the praise. I got a country to say, cause I'm Patriot J and I'm saving the day.